The Krupp Steel Lords, Prussia's war machine builders, Alfred Krupp's cannons to post-World War II revival. Industrial espionage tales picture the thunderous roar of Essen foundries in 1870, as molten steel pours like liquid fire into molds for Prussia's new breech-loading cannons, and a 58-year-old industrial titan named Alfred Krupp, his face scarred from a factory explosion that nearly claimed him young, stands defiant amid sparks that dance like war-zone demons, whispering to his engineers, "This gun will make kings kneel." What if this wasn't just steel, but a pact with destiny? Alfred's Cannon King, crown forged in espionage raids on British designs and worker blood, building a $1 billion empire by 1900 that armed Bismarck's wars, Kaiser's fleets, Hitler's blitz, only to shatter in Nuremberg trials and rise phoenix-like post-war. A $10 billion revival laced with secrets that still arm the world? Grip tight, because the Krupps weren't mere manufacturers. They were war's silent architects, turning Ruhr coal into cannons that carved empires. Family loyalty a forge hotter than any furnace. Espionage tales twisting from stolen blueprints to Cold War comebacks, daring us to ask, does the sword ever outlive the smith? That 1870 triumph erupts from ashes. Alfred inheriting at 14 in 1826 a failing Essen cast steel shop from Father Friedrich, who dies broke at 46, the boy alone with Mother Therese and siblings in a cottage reeking of failure, his hands blistering on crucibles by night, while schoolmasters mock his stutter. But the spark ignites in 1830's railway tires. Alfred's seamless steel wheels outlasting British imports, orders flooding from Prussian rails, his heart pounding as first profits buy the villa on Hugel Hill. Overlooking the growing works, where 100 hammers clang by 1840. But the real inferno hits 1859, the steel cannon breakthrough. Alfred's cast crucibles birthing breech loaders that pierce French armor at Sedan 1870. Bismarck's telegram, "Your guns won the war," a crown, profits exploding to $10 million yearly. Alfred's King of Cannons title whispered in Berlin salons, but shadows creep. 1860s worker strikes crushed with lockouts. 12-hour days in silica dust claiming lungs. Alfred's paternalism, a velvet glove company housing, hospitals, pensions over iron layoffs. His marriage to Bertha, in 1853, a quiet anchor. Their son Friedrich Alfred, born 1854, the heir. But tragedy strikes 1887. Bertha's death shattering Alfred. His gouty decline, a descent into paranoia, spies in every shadow. The 1887 explosion at Essen, killing 10 omen he blames on rivals. The stakes blaze higher in the 1890s naval race. Friedrich Alfred, inheriting at 33 in 1887, a $50 million colossus. Kaiser Wilhelm II's place in the sun, demanding dreadnoughts armored in Krupp steel, $100 million contracts for battleships like SMS Kaiser. The works swelling to 50,000 workers by 1900. Essen, a city of smoke and steel. But espionage ignites. 1890s British agents stealing hardened plate formulas. Friedrich Alfred's counter-spies in Sheffield, pinching Harvey armor secrets. Patents wars crossing oceans. The 1902 merger, with Rheinmetall a defensive dagger. But family firestorm erupts. Daughter Bertha's 1906 marriage to Gustav von Ohlen on Hellbach, a diplomat handpicked by the Kaiser to skirt inheritance laws banning women. Gustav adopting Krupp von Bohlen, name, Bertha's $50 million dowry, fueling WI frenzy. 1914 contracts $500 million for Big Bertha howitzers. It shelled Paris from 75 miles. Essen works 160,000 souls churning shells day and night. Profits $100 million yearly. But the human howl rises. Forced labor from occupied Belgium. 1916 strikes met with arrests. Gustav's letters to Bertha laced with pride and dread. Our steel wins the war. As U-boats sink with Krupp torpedoes. The 1918 defeat a cataclysm. Works seized by Allies. Reparations $50 million. Gustav's trial averted by illness. Bertha's quiet steel holding the line. Suspense coils in the Weimar wilderness. Gustav rebuilding with civilian rails and tractors, disguising cannon molds as farm plows. Nazi rise in 1933, a dark dawn. Alfred Krupp von Bohlen, Bertha's son, joining the party early. His 1936 inheritance, at 29, a $200 million throne. Hitler visiting Essen to toast Germany's armorer. The works exploding to 200,000 workers by 1940. Panther tanks rolling off lines with Krupp turrets. 5-2 parts forged in secret tunnels. But the abyss yawns. 1943 forced labor camps. 100,000 slaves from Auschwitz subcamps, riveting hulls and chains. 5,000 dead from starvation and beatings. Alfred's memos cold with quotas. Productivity or punishment. Allied bombers raining fire on Essen 1943. 50,000 civilians dead. Bertha's 1957 death, a matriarch's farewell amid rubble. Alfred's 1948 Nuremberg trial, a reckoning, 12 years for plunder and slavery. Assets seized, but the 1953 amnesty, a miracle. U.S. Cold War needs reviving German steel. Alfred rebuilding to $1 billion by 1960. Coal Steel Community founding, the 1967 death at 59 a pivot. Son Arndt renouncing inheritance for philanthropy. The firm merging into ThyssenKrupp 1999. $40 billion giant today arming NATO with Leopard tanks. Ethical storms in 2020's Ukraine aid debates. Descendants funding Holocaust memorials. The Hugel Villa, a museum of might and remorse. The climax thunders in World War II as forge. Alfred's 1940s Führer, principle, aligning works to Reich. $1 billion war profits from Tiger tanks that crushed Soviets at Kursk, 1943. But espionage tailies twist. British show agents sabotaging Essen rails. American awe-stealing fused designs. Post-war the Krupp trial, exposing 1944 memos on utilization of prisoners. Alfred's defense. I obeyed, echoing Nuremberg echoes. The 1951 release, amid anti-communist thaw a controversial comeback. His 1950s social capitalism, building worker villages to atone. $100 million in pensions. The 1968 Villa Hugel concerts, a cultural cloak over cannon scars. ThyssenKrupp's 2023 $18 billion revenue steel spine for elevators and subs ethical reckonings in 2010's green steel pivots carbon neutral pledges by 2050. Descendants like Berthold Beetz's heirs funding. Jewish causes the family's $5 billion, trusts a whisper of revival espionage ghosts in cold. War tailies of Soviet spies in Essen labs, the Dynasty S-Arc, from 1811 small forge to 2025. Global giant the testament, steel bends but never breaks. The Krupp saga, from 1870's cannon crown to 2025's corporate colossus, unravels industry's iron oath. Prussia's war machine builders, forging fortunes in fire and fallout. Post-World War II revival, a resurrection laced with espionage echoes. A $10 billion behemoth that probes. Does the forge forgive the forged? If this chronicle of cannons and comebacks steals your spirit, subscribe to temper more tailies with me. We're hammering history's hardest hits as one. Next, the crown's concealed coffers. Windsor Royal's hidden fortunes. From George III's debts to $28 billion land holdings, monarchy as wealth's eternal warden. What throne would you claim in your tale? Crown it in comments, and we'll reign it regal.